I'm starting to think that books that are overly hyped just isn't my cup of coffee, alright? Like, hey besties, what is up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jeannie, and if you're not, well, I'm glad you're back. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all the books I read in May. Yes, guys, this video is actually here and is out on time. Well, not fully on time, but better than last time, all right? Listen, cut me some slack, all right? So last month, I got around to finishing The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winters. So in this one, we are following, what's his face? Well, I don't remember his name. Tao. I think that's how you pronounce it. He is kind of like going on this journey because something happens and he wants to kind of like seek revenge. And in this one, there's demons and magic and fighting and war and all of that fun stuff. There you go. How I felt about this one? Well, in this one, I kind of enjoyed the journey that I took with Tao. I felt a little bit of everything with him. I felt annoyed. I felt happy. I felt sad for him. And so, yeah, that's always a good thing, right? It's basically very much character driven because we are taking like a full-blown journey with Tao and the events that lead up to the choices that he decides to make throughout that journey. So what I really loved about this book is that there was like non-stop action. Like with every page, there was something going on. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of training, a lot of like just chaos. That was something that definitely kept me interested and wanting to find out more and how this story ends. With all those like fight scenes, battling scenes and stuff, it was pretty fast paced, which is something that I love in any book that I'm reading because it just keeps me turning them pages. The other thing that I really enjoyed too is that the writing style was pretty easy for me to read, especially for something like an adult high fantasy book, because being that I'm kind of a little bit new to the adult fantasy world, sometimes certain writing styles in these worlds can be like very dense and complex, but this one was pretty easy to get through and I really loved that. The only difficult part was trying to pronounce the names and the terms and stuff, but what I really like too is that it has a glossary at the end, and as you can see, I had that tab, so like that I can easily go to it whenever needed or whenever something new was represented in the book. So that was definitely a plus for me. Then the other thing too that I really enjoyed is that the plot was just something that was not predictable. Like, don't get me wrong, there were certain things that I would be like, okay, maybe this, maybe that. However, it was always a plot that was just constantly keeping me thinking, constantly making me feel like I don't know what's gonna happen, and I really enjoyed that. With all of that being said, I gave this one a 4.5 stars, and the reason I gave it a 4.5 instead of a full-blown 5 stars is because I started to find that the training scene started to become a bit repetitive and just a little bit overdone. I mean, I did enjoy it either way, but after a while, I was just like, okay, yes, training, fight, blah, blah, blah. Can we get to everything else? Can I know what you left off with before already? And then the other thing that really bothered me is that where are the dragons? Where are the dragons? Evan, where are the dragons? Because I mean, The Rage of Dragons, I was expecting dragons, okay? And you know, there really wasn't any. You know, a dragon made its way. They spoke about dragons, and I believe in the end, towards the end, something like that. But yeah, there really wasn't any of that, so that was kind of the main reason that I took off that half from it being 5 stars. But all in all, I would still recommend this book, and I really did enjoy it enough to want to read the next part. I'm just hoping that the next part has dragons. Please, Evan, give me those dragons, at least in the next part.
Jared, you better yell! Show me the money!
Okay, love. So the next book that I had the pleasure of finishing in May. Or did I finish it in May? Or did I finish it in April? And I didn't include it. You know what? Whatever. We're including it here if I finished it in April or if I finished it in the beginning of May. But that book is Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind. So in this one, we are following Jean-Baptiste Grenouille. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's taking place in the slums of 18th century Paris. Grenouille was actually like this weird type of child, right? That like had no scent to him. And with that, he also ended up having like this amazingly strong sense of smell. So it's like so weird, right? He doesn't have a scent to him, but he has like this strong sense of smell that he can just smell like everything. Like probably like a dog's type sense of smell. As he begins to grow up, he grows up into like this sinister, weird man who becomes obsessed with creating the ultimate fragrance. First of all, this one had me like all the time. I don't even know how to explain that emotion, but you take it as you will. The descriptions in here, oh my God, I literally felt like I was in that city smelling all the stench, the fish, the dead, the corpses, the smell of the hot heat, rotten meat, all of that. Like, I legit was in France at this time, and I love that because I'm the type of person that I love descriptive writing, and Suskind did not disappoint me with that. Jean-Baptiste is like, he is such an unlikable character. He's very sinister, which I love anyways. He is like a character that of course is misunderstood. You kind of like don't like him, but then you're intrigued by him and you want to find out more about him. Yeah, he's just the type of character that I love. What can I just be straight and be honest with you? Like, come on, we all know this. If you've been following my channel, you know me. I love the misunderstood. I love the villain. I love the bad, right? I love them. Because there's always that story. There's always that backstory. And with him, he had that story. The thing that I loved about his character too is how determined he was in regards to what he set out to do. I loved how grotesque it was and how all of that kind of went intertwined with the plot itself. Now, what did I rate it? Did I enjoy it? Well, I gave this one a 4.5 stars. I mean, it's not really a surprise that I would like this since I love things like this. Now, the reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because there were parts that were like kind of slow. And I was just like, okay, yes, we know. You're trying to find the ultimate scent, blah, blah, blah. And besides that, with all the grotesque and the fact that somehow this is also labeled as horror, I'm just like, well, I wish that I would have got a little more murder. You know, like I really wanted a little bit more of that because we are really following Grenouille as he, you know, grows like from infant all the way to his manhood. And, you know, that definitely is what the author was trying to do, well, what he did. But I would have liked to see a little bit more of that murder, especially since it is the story of a murderer. Like, hello. But yeah, 4.5 stars and highly recommend if this is your cup of tea. So another book I read in May is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I think the whole world should know about Caraval by now. Even people that don't read probably know about Caraval by now.
Do you think you could like look straight into the webcam and say Dua Lipa is the greatest pop star in history for me, please?
I would never say that.
Okay.
But in this one, we are following Scarlett and her sister Tella, who's trying to get away from their cruel father. And Scarlett really wants to go to this place called Caraval because it's like a magical place, and you have the mastermind of this place, and his name is Legend. And this is basically that story. She goes to Caraval and in hopes of finding her sister and seeing what happened, and also experiencing Caraval. All right, so the things that I did like about this one is the writing style was pretty nice. It seemed magical, very atmospheric. I kind of felt at times like I was in Caraval. And what else? What else did I like about this? I think that was like the main thing that I liked about this. So I gave this one a 2.75 stars. Now hear me out on why. I felt like the story was lacking, the plot was lacking, the characters were lacking, everything was just lacking. Do I have to say more? I really didn't care for Scarlett like that. She was just blah, kind of two-dimensional and just meh. And then the whole love thing was, to me, just something that was kind of just forced, thrown in there. We could have done without it in a sense. I didn't ship them neither, so that's the other thing. And yeah, I mean, like, to me, the main thing that I did enjoy about this book was the magical world. But everything else was just kind of like, what I will say though is that it did keep me wanting to find out more about it. So it's not really bad enough that I DNF'd it. And I do plan on seeing how Legendary is. And hopefully it's a little better. Hopefully. Alright guys, hang in there with me because we are almost done. Next book that I read in May is Groundbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. In this one, there's multiple point of views, and it's a journey of a girl named Corinne who happens to be, you know, the chosen one, and she contains like a special like bloodline of magic, and there's spindle magic, and she's going on a journey basically to save the world. And yeah, that's what this is. Let me just give you the rating because quite honestly, there wasn't really anything that I enjoyed about this book. So the rating that I gave this was, I don't even know if I want to give it a 1.5 star or a 2 star. Anywhere from there. But here's my reasoning and here's why. First of all, the reason I finished it is because it's a Patreon book pick. And I was like hoping that it would get better. I felt that this journey that I took with Corinne and, you know, the 5 other people that was with her was rather dull and boring. And it was like, I didn't really find anything funny neither. Yeah, I just felt like I was on a journey of boredom. That's what I felt. I really didn't care for Corinne. She felt like a boring person to me, a boring protagonist. Then the thing too is that with all these multiple point of views, there were 6 altogether. So I was kind of confused, thrown off, all over the place. Listen, I feel like somebody should have told Victoria Aveyard to just keep it simple. Because this is not Six of Crows, okay? Sorry, but not sorry at the same time. So, yeah. Somebody definitely should have told her, you know what, keep it simple. Boo. It's okay to keep it simple. Because bad enough, these characters were not likable to begin with. I really didn't care for none of them, quite honestly. But the plot was just kind of linear. It was flat. It literally flatlined for me. Oh my god, guys, listen, you know what? I don't really got nothing else to say. I was just bored. I really wanted to DNF. And quite honestly, I know my patrons would have been perfectly fine with that, but I was powering through for my patrons. I was like, I see, it has to get better. Please get better. Please. I mean, for all this. And then the villain was just, like the way that the synopsis makes the villain sound. Listen to this. Because a man who will burn kingdoms to the ground is raising an army unlike any seen before, bent up on uprooting the foundations of the world with poison in his heart and a stolen sword in his hand. He'll break the realm itself to claim it. Where was that villain? Because it wasn't in here, that's for sure. Like, wasn't in here. I'm still looking, waiting. I was waiting for this villain. I think I'm gonna stick with the 1.5 stars because this just really wasn't it for me. I have another book that just left me upset. And that is Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. So this one is the sequel to The Shining, which I had no clue about, quite honestly. We are following Jack Torrance still, but now he's older and he works in a nursing home. I guess he uses, his shining powers to help people cross over. And we are introduced to a girl named Abra who has super strong powers, and there's a group of these paranormal type people that feed off of her power, and her power is called steam. Jack basically takes it upon himself to try to help her. So now let's get into how I felt about this. The premise of the True Knot was pretty cool. There was some things that I was like, really? But then there was some things that I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. It's different. Now, not Jack, that's his dad, Danny. Danny, as far as his character, I was happy to revisit him and see how he was doing, after everything that went down in The Shining, because remember, he was a little boy then. So we did get to see a little bit of what happened, him growing a little bit, literally the first few little bit of chapters, maybe this much or so. I was happy to see that he actually suffered from the same stuff, because that was the point of the beginning, was to show that Danny is still experiencing all those terrors and horrors of seeing these ghosts and dealing with all of that, right? Is this a spoiler? Yeah, it would be a spoiler. So if you have not read this and you don't want to know this part, you may want to mute it for just a little bit. It was very interesting to see Danny as an adult, right? And the fact that he also kind of self-medicated. So Danny did also become an alcoholic like his dad was. And I know that while some people didn't like that aspect of the book, I actually did, because it made him more human, and it was very understandable of why. So it was really nice kind of seeing him struggle with that a little bit. Okay, so I rated this one a 2.5 stars. Yes, guys, I was very disappointed with it. Surprise, surprise, right? Compared to The Shining, I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. But quite honestly, this one left me feeling like, Stephen King, you didn't need to do a sequel. And the thing is that normally Stephen King doesn't do sequels. Okay, so Abra. Quite honestly, I felt like Danny was more of just the side character. He was the side chick, quite honestly. Don't get me wrong, we did get to find out stuff about him, But he literally was just a side character. That was all he was there for. He was there mainly to help Abra. This was mainly about Abra. And which is like, all right, I get it, because that's the whole point. She's, you know, this new character, the Steam, new paranormal people, the True Knot, blah, 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 right? But I really wish that Danny was given more, quite honestly. That was basically what it was for me. I was not happy with this story neither. And I just felt that things were anticlimactic and everything just kind of just fell in there. But yeah, I just felt like it lacked and it just didn't do it for me. Another book that I got to finish in May is The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. In this one, we are taking a journey with 3 different characters, Logan, Shay, and Autumn, who all happen to lose somebody, and it touches on how they deal with the grief and how music kind of brings all of them together, and they start to realize that even though they lost, there's still beauty that remains, you know, in the world around them. All right, so hold up. First of all, this was a debut novel by this author, which was nice because firstly, I love the diversity that was in here, the LGBT rep that was in here. The other thing that I enjoyed was being able to see each character's perspective and how each of them dealt with grief in their own way. She goes into showing, you know, like everything from shutting yourself out, mental health, falling into depression, changing, and stuff like that. And that was something that I liked, and also the message behind it. The fact that, you know, even though we lose people, or, you know, even animals, right, our lovely pet friends, there's still beauty that remains in the world around us, and we should still appreciate those things and keep moving forward. You know, of course, while dealing with your grief in a more positive way and in a more healthy way, also embracing everybody around you as well. So that was something that I really loved about this one. I gave it 3.75 stars. And the reason I gave it that rating is because there was some things that bothered me. First of all, I really couldn't connect to these characters. Like, their stories were sad, right? But at the same token, it was kind of like I didn't feel it. I was expecting, okay, this is a story about grief. It's going to be painful, you know, like it's going to be sad. It might even make me cry. But it didn't do none of those things for me. I understand too that it is kind of hard to write about grief, you know? I could only imagine that it's hard because you gotta kind of make this compelling story that's going to hit the reader in a way that, you know, it stays with them and maybe even helps somebody, right? So that to me was kind of like lackluster. The other thing that I didn't enjoy were the characters so much. I mean, the one that I kind of enjoyed was Shay's story, because each character, that's the other thing, that each character lost a different person and they're all dealing with this at the same time. It was kind of like, did that need to be here? You know, did they all have to lose like a different person? Maybe it would have been a bit more compelling if they all like lost that one person and it showed how each different point of view dealt with it. You know, maybe that would have been a little better. But then I also felt like in a sense like Autumn's story was lacking. And then with Logan, his story was pretty repetitive. I was already to the point of, okay, we keep hearing the same thing and you're annoying me. I think I preferred Shay's point of view over the other two. The other problem that I had with this too was there was biphobia. And being a person that's by herself, right? by herself. Yeah. Well, I am single, so I guess that goes too. All right, let's be serious. So, that kind of bothered me, especially the fact that it was another person within the gay community. So that really was annoying to me. And the fact that the bi character was displayed as a cheater as well. So, there's those little things that just it's bothersome, because it's like, why does that always have to kind of happen? And then the fact that said character was the one who died, and then the way said character died, like, I just felt like it was one of those things, one of those bury your gays things. And yeah, I don't necessarily know if it would fall under that, but for me it kind of did, and that's a trope that I really don't like, and I don't think I will ever like it. I don't know if any authors would ever do that trope well, so yeah. Let me know down below, how was your May reading? How many books did you read? I'd love to chat about it with you down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you want to support my content even further, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Turn on those post notification bells. And you can also support me even further by joining my Patreon, as that helps and goes a long way to provide you great content for this channel and upgrades as well. Also, besties, I have a summer readathon going on for the month of July and August. If you would love to find out more on that summer readathon, check out this video right here. And I would love for you to join us. Just so you know, you can make it work for you however way you want. We have a Twitter page on it, and we're gonna have some fun activities and some graphics and stuff like that. If you want to take the readathon to the next level, join my Patreon, as we have some plans and stuff going on in there. And yeah, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you watched that far, put this emoji up, and see you in my next video. I love you guys so much, and always remember to sprinkle a little love and kindness everywhere you go. Love you.